Oh, it says I'm live. I'm live. Live video is starting. So exciting. Look. Look, it says create another event. All right. All right. We're live. Okay, so if you can see and hear me, and there's no way for me to know this until it's all over. We have updates from yesterday. Here's what happened yesterday. I knew less yesterday than I know today, which is still a very small percentage of what is possible to know. Apparently, the people who provide the service here, who shall remain nameless until they get their act together, are working on their system. Apparently, upgrades are needed. And so it's very slow here. And it's not going to improve anytime soon. I spoke to many people yesterday, and they spoke to me from a great height. You know how people do that? Well, really, have you thought of doing this? And I don't know about you, but when people do that to me, I want to smack them with something inappropriate, like a fish or, I don't know, a pillow. And because there's something I can say to them that will persuade them that maybe I have tried this for a bit. I've been working on it, like for all day. And and so I tried this and I tried that and I tried the other thing. And I found a way to test the speed of how many frames are uploading. See me doing all this jargon stuff like I know what I'm saying. And it's very low. It's ridiculously low. And so what we need to do, if you will, humor me, is treat me like a beginner at this. Because I'm clearly a beginner at this. So my name is Abby Hagyard, in case you didn't know, in case you tripped on this by accident and said, what is that woman doing? And a long time ago, I fell into show business. And it seemed like such a good idea because it paid a great deal of money. And I didn't apparently have to know much. I just had to show up and do whatever it was that people told me to do. Now, sometimes they didn't know what they were doing either. And the reason, by the way, the reason I keep looking down is not because I've lost interest in you. You're my fondest dream. It's because this little annoying thing keeps popping up that says, too low FPS. And so I keep clicking it to make it go away. Because I'm compulsive and have control issues. I'm also annoyed that if they're going to tell me I'm too low, they could at least use my initials. Whoever FPS is, I find slightly irritating. Anyway, so the first thing that was wrong yesterday was that I was ill prepared. The second thing that was wrong yesterday was that I assumed that the technology knew what it was doing. And it doesn't. The technology is a thing. It's a thing. Right? Invented by some people who are doing very well, really, all things considered. And the other thing that was a bit of a problem was that I hadn't taken enough time to scroll through all of the things you're supposed to click on and off. I didn't know that there was words on the screen. I didn't know also that my screen was too high and the camera's sitting on top of it. And so, of course, on the image yesterday, you can't even see my chin. And that's why I kept saying, I'm taller than this, really. I'm taller than this. And I'm sitting down fairly close to the screen and the camera, because I have my keyboard and this is my little office, and as you can see if you look over my shoulder, I have my winged shoes, and because of course no Valkyrie worth her salt would go anywhere without a pair of winged shoes, and they're sort of my lucky talisman. And then way over in the corner, if you can also see that, there's a little teeny weeny Viking axe, which I have not yet ever thrown at anybody, although yesterday on those conversations with the tech people, I was sorely tempted. So, I decided to do these live conversations twice a week on Tuesday, and on Thursday, because I wanted to, first of all, find out if I could still do this, and secondly, to get us working together as a community, as a village, as people like us. And I talked about that a little bit yesterday. I said that my feeling is that one of the reasons people are out of sorts and behaving badly is really that they're fixated on something that has never really been brought to their attention before. We all, without realizing it, work on the assumption that people like us need better control of their hair. People like us do things like this when nothing really much changes in our lives. As a military kid, roughly, it used to feel like every 15 minutes, which is where 15 minutes came from, but roughly every year or two, I would be pulled out of my normal, my current place of schooling, and I would come home from school and there would be boxes all over the living room, and that meant that we were moving. That meant that, no, next week you're not going to star in the school play. We're going someplace else. And I would say, but why? I like it here. I've unpacked everything. I know where all my stuff is. And the answer is, well, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So that meant that for my whole life, roughly every year and a half, people like us did things like that. We did them. And now we're going to have to learn to do something else. It taught me to live in the moment. It taught me to gravitate to situations and people who validated me, made me feel, okay, we got this. I also talked about that yesterday. I mentioned that I had the great fortune to star in a stage show called Shirley Valentine. Shirley Valentine is a play about a woman in her midlife crisis. Marriage has gone stale. And she goes on vacation. And it gives her an opportunity to be brand new, to be her new self or her old self in a new setting. And it's the character is a woman who lives in Manchester, the north of England. And if anyone has ever heard of a band called the Beatles, it kind of that accent. And as it turned out, my grandparents were from there. And so it didn't take me a great deal of effort or time to be able to slip into Shirley Valentine's voice, and talk about being dead stupid. And it gave me an opportunity to also communicate to people outside my own self, in her self. And she said the most remarkable thing at one point in the play. She's in Greece on her holiday, thanks to a friend, a girlfriend who said, I've got a divorce and I've got the settlement and I'm going to Greece and I'm taking you with me. And she meets somebody who is very charming to her. And the thing is, she hasn't met anybody who was charming to her in a long time, because she settled into a little life, She says, I've realized that I allowed myself to live such a little life, really, when there was so much more of me that I could have lived a bigger life with. And now it'll never be. And it wasn't true, of course. She was sitting there feeling sorry for herself. And then she met someone. And he was just charming. He was charming to a tourist. And she says, you know how it is when someone likes you, approves of you? Well, you start to grow again, don't you? When you know it, you start to feel alive. And you're not labeled. You're not 18 or 64 or 105. You're just alive in the time that you live in. And that was the phrase that came to me the other day, that a lot of us are having a really hard time being alive in the time we're living. We're trying to impose what we did and how we did it on something different. Can you imagine if we lived in a place that was a jungle, and we went to bed one night, we woke up in the morning, and there had been some kind of a cataclysm, and there were no trees. There was sandy beaches. Well, there would still be people heading off in the morning to, fell a coconut, or be a lumberjack, and come home and say, can't find any trees. It's all this bloody beach. And there are things with teeth in the ocean. And people are doubling down because it's unsettling. It's very unsettling. People are not supposed to be, oh, it's entirely different. I went to bed green and I woke up blue. And oh well, now I'll have to have a new wardrobe. People don't do that. They liked the way it was, even if it wasn't very comfortable and it made them look fat. They still liked it because it was familiar and they felt, clever. The terrible thing about change, first of all, it's only hard when we didn't think of it. The second thing is, the reason we don't like it is because we're not good at anything. And so immediately, not only do we not know where anything is, but we look like an idiot. And nobody, except for me possibly, who I made a career of looking like an idiot, we resent it. We want to look like we know what we're doing. We want to be able to walk around and say, I got this going on, I'm doing this. And you can't. You can't when all the rules are changed. I went to London once and stepped off a curb and nearly got killed because I was looking the wrong way because, oh, that's right. That's right. They drive on, that side. And all of this is a challenge for us because it's not something we've ever really considered. It's not something we've talked about. But we have to talk about it, or I'm going to talk about it, and if you had nothing better to do, you're going to sit there and listen to me talk about it. Everything we do, and most of the things we assume or believe or buy into, everything is learned behavior. You think about it. Except for blinking and the heart beating, thank you, and swallowing after we chew, and hopefully it goes down the right path instead of that path, and sneezing, those things are automatic. They're wired in. Digestion is wired in. Hiccups are wired in. But everything else, getting the food onto the fork, into the mouth, learned behavior. Tying shoes, not falling down the stairs, standing up, walking, everything is learned behavior. And why is my hair doing that this morning? What is wrong with it? Everything we do. And we forget that the people who taught us, a lot of the time, were guessing. I know my parents were guessing. I know my parents were guessing a lot of the time. And when we think we get it, when we think this is the right way, and we just keep doing it, we get better at it, fortunately, most of us, and so then we gain confidence. But if the ground shifts and the rules change, we don't get a chance to get good at it, and we panic. And when we panic, we behave badly. We forget the rule of 3, think, plan, do. We just cut directly from panic to do. And then there's this whole recalibrating. Recalibrating. Oh, God. So I think what's important is a sense of humor about it. As you can tell, a lot of the things that would humiliate a lot of people, I just kind of, well, there we are. Because what else am I supposed to do? Hide under the bed with all my unfortunate relatives? No. Um, if I can laugh at it on the assumption that it's going to change in a minute, because it will, then everybody has permission to laugh at it on the assumption that things will change in a minute. Everybody has. What we don't have permission to do, really, is behave badly. We don't have permission, not really, to denigrate other people. We don't have permission to say, well, you looked stupid, because, the truth is, well, hang on a minute, it'll be your turn. And if we can forgive, if we can forgive each other, if we can forgive ourselves, if we can forgive whoever tried to make the decent decision and maybe got it wrong, and hang on a minute and give them a chance to get it right, it's all going to be so much easier than saying, well, it has to be like this. I don't know why these people aren't doing whatever. The truth is, neither do they. They have no idea. One of the funniest things that would happen to me in growing up is watching other people's faces when I made remarkably odd decisions. Because that would be my cue that I was making those decisions based on the rules that I had learned in the last place, with those people like them, and those rules didn't apply now. Not only that, but my rules on what I feel is decent are only true for me. And they're only true for me in this moment. And I have to learn to stop judging other people too. Because I look at them and I think, did you bump your head this morning? What is... And the answer is no, they're just seeing it from their perspective, from their point of view. My father and mother were lovely people. No idea what they were doing. He was immediately good at. And I look remarkably like them. I have a photograph looking at this small version of them, assuming that I would be like them. And they were doomed to a life of bitter disappointment. So every time my dad would take me out to do a sport, he would assume that I would, and he was a brilliant tennis player. Well, okay, it'll be a given. He was a brilliant at all the sports. In tennis, so he was ambidextrous. In tennis, he could play equally well and won prizes with the racket in either hand. Not me. And so what he used to say to me when I would play tennis with him is, rush the net, go, 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 go. My dad was 6'4.5". I'm not. Run. So this Viking is behind me telling me to run. So I would run like the hounds of hell were behind me. And the object of the exercise in tennis, if you play doubles, is the person playing the net is supposed to stop anything from coming over the net. You are the growling dog at the fence, right? And so on this day, it was a tournament. Run, go. Yeah. So I ran, and I got to the net, and I hauled off, and I nailed that tennis ball. Unfortunately, the follow-through, because I was right at the net, the follow-through continued on the other side of the net, and with a great deal of force, and I managed to flip myself over the net and land flat on my back on the other side, like a starfish on a beach, with all the air knocked out of me, making that noise that people make. If you've ever had that happen, it's unnerving as all get out, because it's kind of a thing going on, waiting for something to work again. And I'm staring at the sky, waiting for my life to stop flashing before me. And the next thing I see is my father looking over the net, and he's saying, "What are you doing?" What am I doing? I know. Go. So what had gone wrong in his thinking process was, what happens after that? What happens after you reach your goal? What happens after? What happens next? He hadn't thought that far. So what I'm going to talk about next Tuesday is what if. What if we all had a chance to consider what might happen next? Wouldn't that be something? We'll do it together. I've run a little long. I'm sorry about that. I was just so excited that this was working. At least I hope it was working. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for coming. Please like, comment, and share. Tell your friends Abby has not stopped being whatever this is. And I hope I'll see you next week.